Okay, guys, this is Melissa Shaver. I'm Emerald Ambassador, and this is our Gym Explosion team call tonight. And I am so excited for our guest speaker tonight, Amber Volbeda, who is a Diamond Ambassador. I want to tell you a little bit about her before I hand it over to her. I hope everybody has a pen and paper. This is a girl who's just full of wisdom, and she's very humble, so me even saying that, she's probably gonna like come on and say something different, but let me just tell you real quick. She is a mama of four, and she is a homeschool mom, and she lived here in Dallas. She now lives in Franklin, Tennessee. And Amber and I met my very first leaders retreat. I believe it was her first as well, which was Orlando, Florida in 2014. And as soon, I knew a little bit about her. We're both under Rosalind Payne in different ways. And so I did know of her. I knew that she was a DTS grad. So is her husband. He's a pastor in Tennessee. And so I felt like I just had that bond with her. And when we met in Orlando, uh, she's one of those that I was like, you will be my friend. You will like me at some point. Because I just fell in love with her, and you're going to fall in love with her tonight. And she is someone that mentors me from afar. She is someone that I follow, that I really glean from, and a leader that is someone that continues to mold me into who I am. So I'm very excited that she is on the call with us tonight. And Amber, I'm going to hand it over to you, girl. Let me get you unmuted. There we go. Now you're set.
Is that good?
Yep.
Is that better? Yes. Okay. Side note, you should know that we had workers at our house today that unplugged an internet thing. I don't know. And I just texted Melissa, like, there was a mad scramble, and I am on my phone with like a rig that you wouldn't even believe. You would laugh if you saw the whole setup here. But I'm in my closet. If you've never been on a call with me, my office is in my closet, and I'm crammed in here, and this is where I get things done. So I'm really, really excited to be here with you guys. Melissa, yeah, the feeling was totally mutual. I remember when we met in Orlando, and it was like, yes, you're one of my people. Like, I get you, you get me. And it was definitely an instant connection. So really excited about spending some time with you guys tonight. She did say to grab a pen, and I would recommend that if you don't already have one, just because I like to talk fast. And I did, Melissa and I both went to seminary at DTS, and I met my husband in seminary. He's not a preaching pastor, but I love an acrostic. And so there's going to be a good acrostic tonight for you to take notes. We're going to talk, I talked with Melissa. We set this up a while back, really before the back office started to switch over. And I know we're all kind of in the middle of that, like, oh my goodness, trying to kind of get our feet on the ground, kind of figure out what that system looks like. And I think this topic that I wanted to talk about is so relevant for where we all are right now. And we're going to talk about how to grow a team. And my setup is weird, so I'm probably going to be looking sideways because my notes are over here. So don't take it personally, but we're going to jump right in and talk about how to grow a team. So knowing about the products is great. I know Melissa's super knowledgeable about the products, and I'm sure you guys have amazing training on the products, right? Setting goals is important. Having new people on your team is really, really critical, but combining all of those pieces together is really the question. Like, how do I combine the products and my goals and new people joining my team and turn that into a team that is growing, a team that has momentum? And I kind of want you to like think about, how do I get from the join button, right? We all hit that join button at some point. How do you get from there to standing on stage as a jewel at convention? Like, how does that actually happen? These were questions that I asked myself. Like, how do I get from $34.95 up front to like that first $1,000 check or a $3,000 check? Like, how does that happen? How do you turn goals into growth? And if you're on the call tonight, I just want to say you have goals, because people don't jump on calls like this on a Monday night for the fun of it because they have nothing else to do, right? You're on here because you have a goal and you want to grow your team. You want to see your business grow. You want to grow personally. And that's why you're investing time here tonight. So I want to talk about what that looks like. Where do you start? What role do you play in that? Maybe like some struggles that you might face in doing that, some tools that you're going to need in order to do it well, because that's right. We all want to do it well. If we're investing our time and energy in this, we want to do it well. We want it to succeed. And so that's my hope and my prayer for tonight, that you're going to walk away with really good notes, because I love good notes. But you're also going to walk away with a clear understanding of what the growth process looks like, and some practical action steps. I'm really big on steps. Like, a great call that's fun and motivating is great, but if I don't have anything to do at the end, I'm kind of like, that's awesome. Now what? So let's jump in. G is going to be get to work. Get to work. And this is so appropriate for where we are right now, because even today I was joking, my upline is Ellen Ford, and her upline is Andrea Mitchell, and then Ross. So that's kind of our family tree, how we're all cousins or whatever it is. But you know, I just, full disclosure, this morning I woke up and I wasn't feeling it. I just wasn't feeling it. It had been like a busy, rough morning. And I texted Ellen and I just said, okay, like, I'm not getting on Facebook. I'm not checking my team page. Like, I sent her a sheet of what I was going to work on, and I'm going to do it. So growth, now is the time to get to work, right? We have to get to work. Growth takes work, and you are the key player. If you want to grow a team, if you want to go silver or gold or ruby or diamond or whatever, you have to get to work. You have to do it. It will not happen on its own. And I know that because I've had seasons where I have been more engaged than others, and my business has seen that engagement. It's affected my business directly, right? And I said to my husband, not related to Plexus the other day, but I said to him, like I've got to stop doing nothing, or nothing's going to get done. I think we're talking about house stuff, you know? But I'm like, that is so true. Like, I have to stop doing nothing, or nothing is going to get done. So don't wait. I would just say, don't wait for like that perfect story. Don't wait for the before and after that you have in your head of yourself. Don't wait for like your products to even arrive. If you are brand new and don't have your products yet, like, you just jump in today and get to work. Because every day that you wait to jump in, even if you've been with the company a while, but you haven't just really given it 100%, you're still at like 50 or 60. Every day that you wait to get to that 100% is a day that's just keeping you farther away from reaching your goal. So here's the thing about getting to work. It's not easy. Like today, some days you're going to wake up and you may just not feel it. It might be crazy morning. You might have a lot going on in your personal life. There's all these different reasons that it may not be easy. But some days you're going to wake up and you can feel like you can conquer the world, right? And you're like, today is the day. That was an amazing call with Amber. Just kidding. And I'm like so inspired to like take over the world, right? You're going to have both. And the challenge in this business is to work consistently on both of those days, the really high days and the hard days, because you will have both of them. But like, what does that actually look like? I'm reading a book right now related to homeschooling, because I do have, my kids are 9, 7, 5, and 18 months. And the book is called Teaching from Rest. It's really wonderful. But in this quote jumped out to me. The quote says, I have a tendency to start strong and then fizzle. This means I must have good habits in place to help carry me through when I'm feeling less than enthusiastic. And today in my personal life, that's exactly true. That was true of me today, right? I have to have good habits in place so that the days I feel less enthusiastic in homeschooling or in Plexus or in laundry or whatever, like I still, if I have a good system, it's so much easier for me to know what I need to do. So I don't know if that resonates with you at all, but it really did with me. Some days I'm like running on all cylinders, and Edge is like helping me knock everything off my to-do list, and I'm cranking it out. And some days I'm just running in circles all day long, and like I have no idea what I've done by the end of the day. So your list might look different than mine. Like I've got laundry, diapers, homeschool lessons, ballet, carpools, troubleshooting customers. Right now I'm calling into customer service. I mean, you name it, I've got it. And yours is going to look similar in some ways and different, but we all have stuff to do, right? And we're all balancing all these things at the same time. And so that's why having a plan is really critical. So let's talk about a plan. What does it look like? You've probably heard of income producing activities, IPAs, or daily action sheets. These are really great tools and resources. I'm sure Melissa has some available. You can Google them. You can look on big team pages. They're really easy for you to get. But here is the biggest secret about these sheets. They do nothing by themselves. I don't care if you have 50 of them printed out. I don't care if you went to FedEx and had them bound and they look pretty and you have highlighters for all the different categories, whatever. That doesn't matter. If you don't use them, they will do nothing for your business. You really have to do the work. So here's what I have found to be most successful for me: to plan ahead. Get a calendar, a piece of notebook paper. Like, it doesn't have to be fancy. Y'all, I am in my closet working my business in the corner of my closet, which is like a total wreck. So it doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be something that is going to work for you. And I would recommend to write out the next 7 days. Don't get so overwhelmed. You don't have to plan your whole year. You don't even have to plan your whole month, but write out 7 days. On each day of the week, I want you to write down 3 people that you want to reach out to, 2 people that you want to follow up with. And these numbers will fluctuate the longer you're in the business and the different season that you're in. But let's see, you just want to write them down. And I have, my calendar is actually by my bed right now, so I don't have it in here with me, but pre-decide who you're going to reach out to. When I do this, my time is so much more efficient, because when I sit down and I have 15 minutes of semi peace and quiet, I know exactly what I have to do. And I'm not scrambling to figure out how am I going to use my 15 minutes wise. So make a plan, carve out time each day. You need to talk to your shareholders. This was mentioned in Hawaii last year, talking about the people in your family. Maybe you just have roommates. Maybe, I don't know who you're closest with and who is going to be most affected in your life by time that you devote to Plexus, but have a conversation with them and let them be a part of the decision. So if I say to my husband, like tonight, I texted him, it's on our family calendar, I have a call tonight. I texted him this afternoon, hey, this is just a reminder, like I've got a call at 8:30. What he would prefer is for me to go in my office for an hour and just work like a crazy woman and get it all done, and then be present with him when I'm not in here. That's what he would prefer. Then instead of me spending 3 hours with him in the evening and half checking my phone and I'm not being productive, I'm not being present with him. So get them involved and find a time that works for you. Your time may or may not be what works best for me. Find a time that works. Carve out a time each weekend, right? Weekends, there's a lot of downtime, and that may be, your weekends may be crazy. So maybe it means, this sounds tough, but maybe it's getting up 30 minutes early on Saturday to carve out, devote a little bit of time before the weekend gets crazy. Wake up early, stay up late, lunch break, kids nap. If you're working full time, use your lunch, use your car rides to work and from work. Find windows of time that are going to work for you. Because if you don't make time, you will not see growth. It just won't happen, no matter how many sheets you have. It's not going to happen unless you put the work in. So what do I do every day? I take my products. I do income producing activities. And y'all, full disclosure, some days there's a lot of that. And some days, because of my team and kind of where we are right now in virtual office and switch over, right? Some days I'm not doing as much IPA as I am helping my team and my customers. It's going to look different for you, but every single day you need to be taking your products, doing something that is income producing, and getting on Facebook to post, not to scroll. Make kind of a rule with yourself. Do a self-check. Hey, I'm not going to scroll my newsfeed until I have messaged 3 people. That's super duper easy, right? I used to have a thing in the morning, like I'm not going to get on Facebook until I've done my devotion. Like, that's silly, but it worked for me. So find something that works for you. Every week I follow up with people who I have sent samples to. So every day, those are the things I do. Every week I follow up with people that I've sent samples to. I have, like I said, y'all, it doesn't have to be fancy. I get one of these twice a year. They're from Target. It's like just a little spiral notebook. And I use super fancy Post-it notes to make little tabs. And one of these says samples. Right now, one of these says virtual office, because I'm, any kind of like thing I'm troubleshooting. And then I have all of my notes in here. So anyone I've sent a sample to, I want to follow up with them every week. I want to follow up with people who liked my post or commented on something, and with any current ambassadors, current customers that I need to be in touch with. Every month, I try to set goals. Sometimes those are communicated with my upline because that's most helpful for me if she knows where I'm headed and she can kind of check in with me during the month. And we kind of have a plan of where I want to be at the end of the month. So that's what it looks like for getting to work. Yeah, get to work, make a plan, and use a plan. Your life will be so much easier if you have some sort of system. It really, really will. That's the G, get to work. The R is going to be reach out. You have to reach out. If you do this well, you will likely see major changes in your journey. It doesn't include scrolling Facebook or Instagram. It honestly, it doesn't even include posting on Facebook or Instagram. That is not part of reaching out to people. It's purposeful, it's intentional, it's contact made directly with people. And there's quantity and quality. I say quantity, more is not more if they're bad messages. And I learned that the hard way because I would be like, I just sent out 30 messages and they were horrible because I wrote some message that wasn't personal to me. I probably found it. So it was a message someone else sent and that worked for them. And I'm like, oh, I'll just copy and paste that and send that to 30 people. Well, my friends know me and that message didn't sound like me, right? I wasn't invested in it and it wasn't effective. So more is not more if they're bad messages, but less is less if you get so stumped and tied up on one message that you can't send more than one. So the more you do this, the more natural it will become to you. But I know when I started doing this and really trying to be purposeful with these, it took me a while to get in the flow. But once I got into the flow, it's so much easier now for me to sit down and send what I think is a really authentic and personal message to someone and do it easily. Side note, if you have not seen the video, there is a YouTube video that's 40 minutes long by Diamond Ambassador Carissa Casey, and it's called How to Reaching Out Authentically. It is not on her personal channel. It's someone else's channel, and I can send the link to Melissa. But I have probably watched it 5 times. It's the #1 video I recommend to people on my team when they're trying to figure out how to reach out to people. So I would recommend that. There's 2 types of reaching out. There's potential customers and potential ambassadors. So customers are people who you just want these people to try the products. You think they're going to be interested in the business later, maybe, but having success on the products up front is going to be really important to them. And they aren't interested in making money, covering the cost of their products. That is just not on their radar. So those are your potential customers. Your ambassadors, this is a different group, and you kind of need to make this differentiation. When you're reaching out to people, you need to, I say you need to. What works best for me is if I kind of understand, you don't want to limit someone, but when you're reaching out, you're asking questions, you're trying to get that ball going back and forth of conversation. And in that, you are probably going to understand if this person falls into a customer category or an ambassador category. And it's important to understand both of those are really important for your business. You don't need all ambassadors and no customers. You don't need all customers and no ambassadors. You really want a balance, especially as you're growing. When I was in the beginning stages of silver and gold and senior gold, I had a huge customer base, and those customers, really happy customers, were coming over then and becoming ambassadors. But don't be afraid of a customer. I think sometimes people are. Potential ambassadors, these are people who, a couple criteria, these are people, you want these people to commit to 60 to 90 days. If they cannot mentally, verbally, over message commit to 60 to 90 days, that is just not someone that you want to sign up as an ambassador right now. Okay. So 60 to 90 days, it needs to be someone who's just open to sharing with a friend. I'm not asking them to blast it all over Facebook on day 1 if they don't want to, but are they open to sharing it with their mom or their sister or neighbor or coworker or someone that could maybe do it with them? And are they interested in maybe making money, covering the cost of their products? These are people, not all the time, but a lot of time, people who have influence. Sometimes they're super social, sometimes they aren't. I am an introvert, y'all. I think Melissa is too. We joke about when we're at, little events and we'll be texting each other okay, gotta go get recharged, so don't put people in one group or another, but people who understand that the products can take time and they can see the vision of what the business can do. You've got to understand the difference between these two. Signing up warm bodies for lack of a better word, for the sake of signing people up is not a good business strategy. It is not sustainable, and it will not give you the growth that you're really looking for. It can get you to silver, and it can even get you to gold. I've seen this happen getting people to gold. Like they can just get enough people to join them to get to gold, but it's so hard to get beyond gold if you're just signing up warm bodies who really have zero interest in the business. And I have some ambassadors who don't have an interest in the business. That's fine. Not everyone who joins your team needs to want to be diamond. Not everyone does, but it's a balance. So just remember that you want to kind of make that determining factor. Who should be a customer? Who should be an ambassador? And when you reach out, do it well, because not all messages are created equally. Okay, sorry, I got all off on a rabbit trail with my notes. Okay, quality counts and quantity is what will bring you new people. It's not personal. It's all about statistics. The more you reach out, the more you will grow. This is a numbers game. I don't have the CD here, but there is a CD, a guy named Jim Rohn, I think is how you say it. Ron, I don't know. ROHN is his name. And he has a fabulous, Melissa, I can send this to you as well. He has a little CD I ordered for like $5 online. And he talks about the statistics of the industry and how, like, if 1 out of 10 people say yes, that's good. So you factor that in when you're sending out. If you're only going to message 2 or 3 people a day, it's going to take a while to get to that 10 marker. And if 1 of those 10 says yes, that's good. So the more messages you can send out, the better. Sorry if you guys can hear some beeping. Okay, so we have G is get to work, R is reach out, and O is going to be own your story. Your story and your style. There are 2 parts to this. And this took me a while to kind of figure out. I think sometimes this comes naturally to some people. It doesn't come naturally to everyone, but it's so easy to learn. So your story matters. That's what you need to know and you need to believe. Your story matters. We are on a journey, and getting healthy is a journey. It is not a one-stop shop, right? It's not for just a certain amount of time. I'm 3.5 years in, and my journey is evolving every day. So you're never going to be there all the way, right? We never reach health. We are constantly on that journey and in that process of trying to get healthy and maintain our health. So if you're waiting for that finish line before you're ready to share, you're never going to get there. And if you have people on your team who are like that, probably if you're on this call, you're probably more open to sharing, but maybe you have that friend who joined you and they're just waiting for that certain health marker of some sort or another. And they may or may not get to that point tomorrow, right? But why not go ahead and start sharing today? It's more than products. It's more than paychecks. It's the reasons behind the products and the paychecks and how those are changing your life. So people really identify with you. And a lot of times I always say, people are going to either join you because they trust you or they like you, or some combination of the 2. And obviously the products have a part of it, but people identify with you and your story, with your honesty, with your vulnerability, with your openness. If you're an emotional person, that would be me, then this might come a little more naturally to you. And if you're not, it might be a little bit harder for you to open up and really let people see your story. Okay. But what I want you to know is that that's what people are going to resonate with. A graphic that they have seen shared by 5 people who are sharing plexus is not going to cause them to stop. But a picture of you, a personal story about you and your life and how this is resonating with you and how it's impacting and changing your life is going to make them stop on their newsfeed. And I always tell my team, when you're thinking, when you're sitting at your phone and you're scrolling like this on your newsfeed, I tell people, the goal of your post is for the person to stop scrolling. That's the first goal. You just want them to stop scrolling so that they can stop and read what you have to share. So think about that when you're sharing. If my posts are too lovey-dovey, for lack of a better word, for you, then don't copy and paste it. That's awkward, right? Like if that doesn't sound like you, don't use it. And I would say, go follow other jewels or people who aren't jewels, but that are really good at sharing and marketing and getting their story out there, go follow them. But you don't have to copy and paste what they're sharing, especially if it's not natural and it doesn't work for you. Find a way to tell your story in a style that is authentic to you. But what's important is that the story gets told, right? Because no one else can tell your story. I can't tell your story. Your spouse, your kid, your upline, your downline, your sideline, no one can tell your story but you. So don't hold it back. I think we all can think back to the time when we were super skeptical and we were investigating all of these crazy people sharing about Plexus. And there were probably it was probably people's stories that really caught you. And you read someone's story. And so you went back and you visited their Facebook page again later. And you wanted to check up on them. Are they still doing this? Okay. What's happening in their life? How is this impacting their life? How is it changing their life? It was their story probably that drew you in and that caused you to ask them questions and then to eventually join their team. So don't hold it back, because you never know who is watching and waiting kind of in the wings for you to share your story. And if you don't, someone else will. Someone else is not going to share your story, but they're going to share their story, and your potentials, your circle of friends, and your influence, those people are just looking for someone to offer them hope, someone to tell them it's going to get better, that there's a natural way that they can help themselves, that gut health matters, and that, this isn't complicated, and that they can do this, and that this is a community that they could be a part of, and all these amazing things about what we get to do. They're just waiting for someone to tell them. And so if you don't, there's a chance they're going to hear it from someone else. So don't hesitate. Let's talk about your style. People like you and trust you. I already mentioned that. Don't lose you. And I think this is easy to do, especially when we get in that mindset of okay, I have to post something today. What am I going to post? I have to post something today. Okay, I posted once, but they say I'm supposed to post, when I started, it was 3 to 5 times or 1 to 3 times. And okay, so how many have I done today? And okay, well, I posted that, and that I'm exhausted just thinking about what I posted. And then I got to do this all over again tomorrow. And you really start to get so caught up in checking off your box of posting that you forget to actually relate to your audience and connect with them and just share your life and your story and what's going on. Side note, I'm cracking up that today I posted a funny question about my winter boots, those little booties, and my socks won't stay on my feet. And so they keep sliding off. And I was like, what's the question to this? This has nothing to do with Plexus, but I have 70 comments of people recommending socks to keep my feet warm in my booties. I mean, that's crazy. That has nothing to do with Plexus, but it has a lot to do with me just connecting with my audience. Some of those are Plexus people, and thankfully not all of them are. And, I want those people to still see me and my personality and my quirky things and be engaged with me. So don't lose you, because people connect with you and trust you. And if the only thing you're doing is posting a picture of your pink drink and, Plexus graphics all day long, they're really losing their connection to you. So work on storytelling, learn from others, but don't copy them. Let's not do the verbatim. Now, I do see good posts and I do copy them, right? I try and maybe do it a couple days later. If you don't know, on your phone, anytime you're on Facebook, if you see a post you really like, if you click on the top right-hand corner, it gives you an option to save the post. You can save it. And so if I see a really great post, I click save post. And when you go back to kind of your main menu on your phone and if you're scrolling down, there's an option where it says saved with a D posts. And you click on that, and that gives me a list. And y'all, I have tons and tons and tons of them over the months or weeks or years that I have saved. And it just helps me get in that moment where I'm I can't think of anything good to post. It gives me some ideas, and it helps me give a place to start. Or if something's super fabulous, I'm I love that, but I want to share that in a couple days and kind of put my spin on it. So don't copy them verbatim. People can totally detect when it's not authentic. So make sure you're just being you. Use your strengths, right? We all have strengths. We all have things that we are good at. And that might be Facebook. Maybe Facebook is your sweet spot. maybe doing live events. I have a girl on my team, and like, if I can get her in front of people, she can just sell the craziness out of Plexus. But she needs to be in front of people face to face. That is not my strong suit. It's a growth area for me. So find what works for you. Maybe it's, calling people on the phone versus texting them or messaging them. Like, whatever it is, find your strengths and use those. Grow in your growth areas, but like, take advantage of the strengths that God has given you. Okay. The last one is kind of this is going to be a more personal one, but W stands for win over fear. And I think this is personal because it's, I've been with the company 3.5 years, and probably in the last 6 months or so, I've started to see really kind of the other side of how this plays into the business. Some in my personal journey, but in people on my team or sidelines or friends. Fear affects all of us. All of us. You cannot get away from it. But the longer you wait to address it, the bigger impact it is going to have on your business. So the sooner you address fear head on, the better impact it will have on your business. And there's just really no way around it. I was asking my upline, Ellen, like, what's your favorite quote on fear? Like, give me something good on fear. What do you think? And she said, fear is a prison. And so we kind of went back and forth on that. I'm like, a prison? That sounds kind of intense. Like, give me more. And we just talked about how it holds you captive and holds you back in your business. But y'all, the secret is that this is so much bigger than Plexus, right? What fear does to you and me and to us is way beyond Plexus and our business. It affects us in our life. So what do we fear? I mean, we all fear something. Maybe it's fear of failure. Maybe it's fear of others, of their opinions, of their impressions, of, what they think. Maybe you're headed to Thanksgiving this weekend and you're going to have family there, and they think you have lost your mind because you're doing this. Or they think they've lost your mind because you haven't given up. Like, okay, just let it go. You gave it a while, let it go. Maybe you just signed up and you're going to have to go face these family members, and they, they're already talking about you. And, maybe you're going to face that this week. Maybe it's your best friend who has not joined you for years. And, like, y'all talk every day, but you don't talk Plexus because she thinks you're crazy. Right. And in the back of your mind, you're like, you're still dealing with that and struggling with that and working through that. It's just the risk of like, hey, people used to comment on my post all the time and now they don't. And like, what does that mean? Do they not like me anymore? Did they unfollow me? Like, do they think I'm this? Do they think I'm that? Like, the roles just play in our head. So maybe it's fear of others, or maybe, honestly, maybe it's fear of ourselves. Like, what's going to happen to me if I really give, Amber, if I really give 100%, like, that's going to require more of me. And if I really succeed, that's going to, I'm going to have to invest more. And I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can do that. So how do we handle those fear? How do we handle those fears? Well, let's talk about failure. You speak truth. That is the number one thing I would say. You have to speak truth. If you're going to counteract fear, you're going to speak truth. And I was laughing with my daughter, not laughing, almost crying really, but it ended well. But we were talking the other night because she got in trouble for something. And she said, when Dad said that, it made me feel like he didn't love me. And I looked at her straight in the face and I said, she's 9 and we've got drama. Okay. But I said to her, listen, that is a lie right there from Satan. So you don't believe that no matter what happens, no matter how big you get in trouble, no matter, like, that is not true. So as soon as you hear that, as soon as that comes into your mind, girl, you immediately cry out to God and say, that is not true. My dad loves me. My God loves me. And you speak truth into your mind. So whatever fear of failure, whatever you are fighting in your head, whatever that fear of failure is, you have to speak truth. Find a scripture. I mean, listen, I met in seminary, so it's no secret here that we are, Jesus believing. Find a scripture that you can read, that you can claim, that will address that. And, like, God created you the way you are for a reason. It's not an accident that he gave you strengths that you have, and that you have growth areas, right? We all have them. Every diamond on stage has a growth area, y'all. Don't be confused about that. Every person, plexus or not, has strengths and has growth areas, and you are not a failure. You are not a failure. So maybe you fail a time or two in this journey. Who cares? That's fine. Y'all, I have failed many times. I have messed up many times in my journey, but failure, failure only wins when you quit. That's the only failure. The only real failure is when you just give up and say, forget it, I can't do it anymore. Standing back up, moving forward, trying again, learning from your mistakes and being stronger for it, nothing about that is failure. Nothing. So be confident and gracious at the same time, because that's the flip side of this. People get like overly confident, and y'all be gracious. Let's just be nice about it, about who God made you to be. Be confident in that. How do we, fear of others. Their opinions of you don't define you. And they definitely won't pay your bills. I've got a funny story about a sibling about this, how I have one brother, and he just at one point, told someone to he wasn't going to do what they want him to do, and they could just, take it. And my dad said, well, that's great and all. And he said, I still have my integrity. He was really proud of that. Like, I still have my artistic integrity. And my dad was like, is that going to pay your bills? Like, y'all, what they think of you doesn't pay your bills. It doesn't. So be gracious about it. But some of my closest friends, they still haven't joined me. They still won't give it the time of day. They just won't. They might have things to say, like, I'm sure they have things to say about me when I'm not around. That's fine, right? They love me. They probably think I'm crazy for doing this, but that's fine, because I know what it's done for me personally, and I know what it's done for my family. And so they can think whatever they want. They can say whatever they want. But at the end of the day, like, you're never going to please everyone. So do what you feel like the Lord has called you to do. Be who you feel the Lord has called you to be, and just be gracious and go forward in that. Sorry. Okay, the last one is fear in ourselves. And this is the one that's the most personal and the most scary. But I think sometimes we have the fear that we just don't have what it takes, right? Like, y'all, I've said that plenty of times to my husband or in my head. Like, I mean, do I really have what it takes? I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm not like so-and-so, right? You see someone else who is succeeding in some way. I'm not like that person, or I'm not this enough. I'm not outgoing enough. I'm not social enough. I don't have as many friends. I don't have as big of a circle. I haven't lived in as many cities as that person. And because they lived in all these cities, they have all these networks and that, or I'm too this, I'm too insecure. I'm too whatever. I'm not enough of this. I'm not of that. What I want to say is, like, if no one else in your entire life, in your entire journey, in your entire plexus experience or life in general has ever told you you can do it, then here at 9:08 p.m. on November, I don't even know what day it is because it's all running together, I'm going to be the first person to tell you, like, you can do this. You have value and worth, and you can do this. The only thing keeping you from doing this is failing, is stopping. That's it. That's it. So if you don't stop, you can do this. Absolutely, positively. So whatever script you're playing in your head from your childhood or your high school years or junior high, or I don't know, early in your marriage or college, right? We all have those scripts in our head, right? That just haunt us, for lack of a better word. And we have convinced ourselves that we can't do these amazing dreams that we have. And I just want to say, if like God has put that dream and that desire in your heart, just be faithful to do what you need to do to get there. He will navigate, right? But you just put one foot in front of the other and do it, because you can absolutely succeed in this. You have the most incredible leader. I mean, I adore Melissa, and I'm sure these are things she has said to you, because I know she feels passionately, just like I do, about the fact that, this is an opportunity the Lord has given us And I always tell people, like, I'm just asking the Lord, like, can I just be faithful? Like, I just want to be faithful. I want to be a good steward of what he's given to me. And wherever that takes me is where that takes me, right? At the end of the day. So in conclusion, let's talk about get to work. Take action steps tonight. Get your calendar out. Get a piece of paper out. A Post-it note. It doesn't have to be fancy. This is a busy week, y'all. This is holiday, right? We're all busy. Side note, it's not just you. We are all like head spinning with lists and to do things and traveling and all that. But get your list out and write down 3 people that you're going to reach out to every day this week. People are on social media all over the holidays, right? They got nothing to do but sit in the room with their family and try to avoid them and be on their phones. So everybody is like on their phone over the holidays. So get on your phone, reach out to people. Send a message tonight before you go to bed. Send one. I would recommend that be to a potential that you would like to actually join your team, and that it be a personal message. Tell them, I've got a newer level one, and sometimes she'll say, like, okay, so this is a person, like, this is what I want to say to her. How do I say it? And I say, exactly like you just said it to me. Just be honest with her and tell her why you think she'd be amazing, why you've been hesitant to reach out to her up until now, and that you want her to join you. So reach out, send a message tonight, own your own story and style. Let your story be part of the message. Don't hide that out of the products, right? Don't just talk about the products because they're amazing. Tell the world how they have been amazing for you. And win over fear. Find a scripture tonight that speaks to your fear and will help build your personal belief that you are worth this and that you can do this. So that's how you're going to grow your team. You're going to get to work. You're going to reach out. You're going to own your own story and win over fear, because none of us want to be held back by that. And it's a constant journey, I think, right? Like, let's be honest. And we're all working through these things all the time. But hopefully these are tips that are kind of practical and that will help give you like a few action steps, because that's always important to me to have some action steps of like what I can actually do with this when I'm done. So Melissa, I don't know if you're still on here.
I am. I'm right here. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Stephanie just shared, she says, this is just an encouragement I needed tonight. Thank you so much for your words. So
Good.
That. Do you have just a few minutes if any of them have a question or two? Are you good with that? Okay. If you will unmute yourself, if any of you have a question, we're only going to take a couple. But I do want to give you a chance to ask Amber a question if you have one.
Okay, I have one. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I like what you were saying about like finding the scriptures for the specific fears. I wondered if you could share maybe like 1 or 2, if you're okay with that, like fears and then like scriptures that went with it.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Okay. Well, I'm looking right here at my, which you can't see because this is just, if you knew about my office, that's a whole nother story. But I have these little scripture cards all over my bulletin board that are right in front of me. And the first one that jumped out to me is 1 Thessalonians 5:16, which says, rejoice always. And I think that is really applicable to all of us tonight, probably where we are with just the new system. I know that I'm feeling a little lost and a little overwhelmed, like navigating it, and a little frustrated, and just like, how can I be as efficient as I was? And how can I get a grip on this? And how can I, and especially this week, I just think it's helpful for all of us to just remember to rejoice, right? I may have these quote unquote problems, but these problems come from me having the freedom to work a business from my phone that has completely transformed my health and my family's life. So I think, when I get that right perspective, that really helps. The first one that came to mind is be anxious for nothing, but in everything, just put it before the Lord. And I think, in the business, especially when we get these IPA sheets, I know for me, or the idea of posting every time, a couple times a day, I just get, sometimes it's so easy for me to be task oriented and just like, okay, I just need to get it done. I need to cross this off my list, finish this, finish that. And I think, full disclosure, I'm not always as open-handed with things as I should be to the Lord, to like really let him, like, who needs to be on my team? Who needs these products? Like, I have products that really change people's lives, and I'm surrounded by tired mommies all day long. So like, Lord, like, open those doors so that I can share with the person who is totally discouraged and worn out and could really use this in their life. And then the other one, I have another one on my board. It's first, I got to zoom in. First Peter 4:8. It's really, the reference is really little, but it says, love each other deeply. And I think, you know, in our business, you know, talking about being afraid of what people think of us, you know, I think so many times that if we come back to just loving them well, and that's the best witness and testimony that we can have to them. And whether they think we're crazy for Plexus or they think we're crazy because we love Jesus, you know, loving them well is the best thing that we can do. There's, you know, I would recommend, well, Melissa may have some great, I have like a Beth Moore, it looks like a Bible, but it's found in its scriptures, based on categories like fear, doubt, like whatever. And it's just like straight scripture divided up by categories. So, and I'm sure that's online somewhere, like readily available. But I would just recommend, you know, whatever that first fear or those first two fears that popped into your mind tonight, like, man, Amber, like, I really struggle with, you know, what people are thinking about me or what they're saying about me. I would, you know, I would, before you go to bed, I would just ask the Lord to lead you to one or two scriptures that will speak to that, and put them in your Bible, in your car, on your computer, on your mirror, and just be confident in that. I don't know if that really helps. I've got all these really great verses. I mean,
yeah, and Stephanie, I'll share with you real quick. I mean, just this morning, this was my scripture this morning, and it's from 1 Corinthians 2, and this is what I love about it. So this is Paul, who is like one of the greatest spiritual giants, right? Like, we learned everything from him. He's got all the books in the New Testament, the most books. And he says in 1 Corinthians 2:2, for I decided to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. And this is what I love. And I was with you in weakness and in fear and in much trembling. And my speech and my message were not plausible words of wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power. And I love, because he says, I decided, like, I made a decision. I made a decision whenever I came to speak to you, that I was going to be like fully dependent on Jesus Christ. And I thought, oh my goodness, that is us every single day when we have to reach out to people. It's just like what Amber was just saying, like, we need to be all that God has called us to be and be confident in who we are. But when we go to speak to people, it's going to be hard. We're going to go in trembling. We're going to go in fear. We're going to go in weakness. But if we go fully dependent on the Lord, knowing that he has called us to this business and he has given us a message of hope to people that have, you know, health issues or need financial blessing, we still go. We make the decision. Like, we say, I'm making the decision today to do this. So I love that scripture. That was just something I sat on for a really long time this morning. Because most people that we think are the greatest of the greatest of the greatest, kind of like Amber saying, every diamond on that stage has an area of growth. Mm-hmm. And we always think that they don't. And Paul is one of the most powerful people that we know. And yet he said, I came in weakness and trembling and fear, but I made a decision to go and to fully rely on Jesus. So it's a good one.
This is a side note, but because we are in the middle of this new system in transition, I've done a lot of reflecting, because we went through this 2 years ago. And I was looking back at my journey then, and just to encourage you all, you know, I looked back and the new system switched over. It was end of September or October 2 years ago. And I actually hit Emerald December 31st. So right after the switch. And the reason that was encouraging to me this past week is because I was like, okay, so I've done this before, right? New systems, new processes, navigating, you know, a few challenges, and we still grew as a team. Mm-hmm. And, you know, talking to some of my leaders, a lot of my leaders joined me during that period. A lot of my senior golds and rubies now joined me during that period and became so strong because of it. So I thought that was a fun, for me, it was like the Lord's, gentle reminder that like, hey, you've been through this before. It's just a new system. Like, you're going to be fine, and your business can still grow. You can still grow a team during, you can still work, you can still reach out to people, you can still, work on overcoming, fears that you have during this time. Like, there's so much to be done, and we still have products that change people's lives. So that's, to me, that's what gets me. There's so many people out there selling things, and some of them are so wonderful. But we really have such a gem in that, we have these products that impact people's lives in significant ways. So we're so fortunate.
Mm-hmm. Any other question before we close out tonight?
I've got a quick one.
Okay.
This is Susan Armstrong. You were talking about messages and how, more messages are not better if they're bad messages, and then less is less if you get stuck. That tends to be my issue, is getting stuck on trying to make the message perfect, whether
Right.
It's a written message or a voice message. I've redone voice messages so many times. And what would be your main tip on, okay, how do you get out of that kind of a rut when you do get stuck trying to find just the right thing to say?
Yeah. So a couple of things. One, I would say the more you do it, the easier it is.
Sure.
So is, one of those things that's just like a well-oiled machine, for lack of a better word. Like, the more you do it, the more comfortable you are. Two, I would say really maybe step back, have your upline look at what you're sending out, upline or sideline, bounce it off to somebody, and see if you can get some feedback from somebody else. Make sure it's really natural to you. For instance, my upline, Ellen Ford, sends out a message to people. It's very common for her to say that her message is, hey girl, when are you going to do this with me? Literally that. And she has great success with that. It would be horrible for me to send that message out, because people would be like, one, you don't talk like that. And that is like really awkward that you just sent me that message. So I had to come up with, my message, which was way long-winded, and I sent it to Ellen, and she kind of, okay, girl, like, let's X out these 3 paragraphs and, get it down to 1. So I would say, yeah, use your upline. And then the other thing I would do is I would think back on, when is the time where you sent out a message that was really well received, that you got a good response. Go back and look at that. And maybe in your phone, get a notes section in your phone if you don't already have that set up, and just call it sample messages, and copy and paste some messages that you have sent out before that have had good responses.
Okay,
and so that
good idea.
Reach out to somebody, you're like not recreating the wheel. You like take that, like, how can I use that and, make it more personal to her. I was trying to, I'd be more than happy to share. I had a few that I sent out. This has been a while. My internet, oh my goodness, it's nuts. I had a few that I sent out one night, like literally crawling in bed, and I sent out like 3 or 4 messages. And they literally, that's what they said. Like, I'm crawling in bed. Like, I'm still thinking about you. I know you ordered a while back and you really like the products, but nothing ever happened to it. And girl, like, I just cannot stop thinking about how natural you would be at this business, because people love you. You have such a heart for others. And I think people really respect you and look up to you. And this would just be the best fit. Like, would you ever just join my team? Would you ever want to just do this with me? And it was just not fancy or hard or, just really casual and conversational. And I sent out a couple, and like, they all wrote back. And I was like, that is the strangest thing. But I saved those messages because I thought something about the way those flowed really connected with people to get a response. And that's what's hard, is to actually get the response. That's what you really want,
Right.
So yeah, those would be my recommendations.
All right. That's a great idea. Thank you.
If you haven't watched that video by Carissa, I would highly, highly recommend that one.
Yeah, I'll find that. All right, Amber, thank you so much for your time. This was so fantastic. And guys, thank you for being on the call and being engaging and answering the questions. This was fantastic. You guys have a great night.
Thanks, Melissa.
Bye.